Hello, resilient Scorpio. Beneath the surface, something's been changing far longer than appearances would suggest. Like a hidden current slowly reshaping the shoreline, the movement has been steady, even when nothing on the outside seemed different. As July 10 unfolds, you may find yourself standing at the edge of a quieter transformation, one that asks less of your determination and more of your willingness to trust what is already beginning to rise from within. Long before anyone else could recognize the shift, your inner world had already begun reorganizing itself. The emotional weight you've carried, the choices you've made in silence, and the boundaries you've learned through experience have all been preparing you for this moment. What once felt uncertain may now seem as though it has been quietly arranging itself beyond your line of sight, waiting until you are ready to notice it, rather than force it. If this message has found you today, it may be because a part of you already senses that the season is changing. Scorpio rarely moves without purpose, and you know better than most that true transformation often happens where no one else is looking. Your mind may still be searching for proof, yet something deeper has already begun relaxing its grip. There is a difference between vigilance and wisdom, and perhaps you are beginning to discover that you no longer need to confuse the two. You may have noticed a weariness that sleep alone cannot explain, not because you become weaker, but because you spend so long carrying emotional armor that your spirit is finally asking for something gentler. There comes a point when strength is no longer measured by how much you can endure, but by how willing you are to release what no longer belongs to you. This space is not empty. It is the quiet threshold between constant survival and a life that allows room for peace. There were seasons when you protected others while quietly tending to wounds no one could see. You carried truths you couldn't easily explain, remained loyal when your trust was tested, and kept moving even when the path disappeared beneath uncertainty. None of that was invisible. Every difficult choice helped shape a deeper resilience, not the kind that hardens the heart, but the kind that teaches it how to remain open without losing itself. Now the invitation is different. Instead of tightening your grip on every outcome, you may be discovering that security can also grow through trust. This is not about giving up your discernment or pretending life has never been difficult. It is about recognizing that protection and isolation are not the same thing, and that your next chapter may ask you to lower the walls that were once necessary for survival. What is finding its way toward you is not simply a reward for working harder. It reflects the person you have gradually become through every experience that required patience, honesty, and emotional courage. You are learning that your value was never dependent on constant effort, and that abundance often arrives most naturally when fear is no longer the force driving every decision. If you've been craving solitude, feeling drawn toward water, noticing a desire to simplify your surroundings, or sensing that your body wants more quiet than usual, consider that these may be invitations rather than interruptions. Sometimes healing appears as stillness before it becomes visible as change. The deeper waters of your life are settling, allowing you to see your own reflection with greater clarity than before. So don't dismiss the unexpected sense of relief that brought you here today. Perhaps it isn't random at all. This moment is about more than finances or external success. It is about rediscovering safety within yourself, restoring the value you've always carried, and remembering what life feels like when it is no longer organized around surviving, but around fully receiving. Take a slow breath and allow yourself to meet this new season with open hands rather than guarded fists. Scorpio, you may be standing on steadier ground than you've allowed yourself to believe. The emotional debts you've carried for far too long are beginning to lose their weight, and the value that once seemed invisible is finding its way into the light. What was withheld is not returning as a distant promise, but as something that gradually becomes real enough to touch, experience, and trust. If something in these words resonates deep within you, leave a comment below and simply say, "I welcome my transformation." Let those words become a quiet acknowledgement that you're ready to receive what no longer has to be fought for. Stay with this message, because what is unfolding reaches far beyond finances alone. This season carries the possibility of restoring confidence, security, and the relationship you have with your own worth. July 10 arrives with the feeling of calm water after a long storm, revealing reflections that could never be seen while the surface was restless. Sometimes the greatest shift is not what enters your life, but the way you begin seeing yourself within it. Every chapter you walk through has been preparing you for this quieter form of transformation. The moments when you refused to betray your instincts, even if it meant standing alone, were never signs that you were difficult or unreachable. They became the invisible framework of a life built on authenticity instead of approval. In the symbolic language of Scorpio, true wealth begins beneath the surface, where old fears dissolve and a stronger sense of self quietly takes their place. You may notice that your perseverance is beginning to reveal its purpose. This is less about external validation and more about finally recognizing that your standards were protecting something sacred rather than keeping opportunities away. While others measured progress by speed or visibility, your path asked for emotional honesty, patience, and the courage to transform from the inside out. Those qualities rarely announce themselves loudly, yet they create foundations that can endure change without losing their shape. What is developing now is not a stroke of luck or an unexpected shortcut. It resembles a river patiently carving its way through stone, creating something lasting through quiet persistence rather than force. Every experience that challenged your trust was also teaching you discernment, and every season that asked you to wait was strengthening your ability to hold greater responsibility without being ruled by fear. Looking back, the delays begin to feel less like punishment and more like preparation. There is another reason this moment matters. You were never simply enduring difficult circumstances. You were protecting your values when it would have been easier to abandon them. Even when disappointment tempted you to close your heart, some part of you continued choosing integrity over resentment. Those choices became an invisible form of wealth, one that cannot be measured immediately but gradually shapes every opportunity that follows. You may sense that life is moving differently now, not through dramatic announcements, but through subtle shifts that arrive with remarkable steadiness. New possibilities settle into place without demanding constant vigilance, almost as though they have been waiting for the right emotional climate to emerge. This slower rhythm is intentional because what is built through inner peace is far less likely to be shaken by fear or uncertainty. That is why this chapter invites you to loosen your grip instead of tightening it. For Scorpio, trust has never meant naivety. It has always meant knowing when your strength no longer needs to remain on guard. You are learning that protection and openness can exist together, and that lasting security is not created by anticipating every possible loss. Perhaps this is the deepest transformation of all. What once existed only as hope is gradually becoming lived experience. The future no longer feels like something you must constantly chase or control. Instead, it begins to feel like something you are prepared to welcome, because the person you have become is finally capable of holding abundance without allowing fear to define it. Scorpio, you are no longer being asked to prepare for another battle. Instead, you may be discovering that this season is inviting you to make space for what is finally ready to enter your life. What you've been waiting to experience may arrive quietly, not as another challenge demanding your strength, but as something you can genuinely receive. The evidence of your journey is no longer hidden only within you. It is beginning to take shape in the world around you. The patience you've shown, the moments you chose integrity over immediate comfort, and the courage it took to remain true to yourself have never been meaningless. Their value may not have appeared on anyone else's timetable, but that does not make it any less real. Lasting transformation rarely rewards urgency. More often, it honors the person who continued growing beneath the surface long after others stopped paying attention. Now another invitation appears, and it may feel unfamiliar. Rather than asking you to push harder, life seems to be encouraging you to soften your grip. For someone who has spent years protecting their heart and anticipating every possible disappointment, this can feel surprisingly uncomfortable. Yet this pause is not taking anything away from you. It is creating room for you to experience the security you've been building from within. Allow yourself to consider that rest is not the opposite of progress. Sometimes it is the clearest expression of trust. When your body begins to relax, when your breathing slows, and when your mind no longer feels compelled to solve every future problem before it arrives, you are not becoming careless. You are teaching yourself that peace does not have to be earned through exhaustion. This season asks you to redefine strength. Instead of measuring it by how much pressure you can withstand, you may begin measuring it by how fully you can remain present without slipping back into survival mode. There is a quiet confidence that grows when you no longer expect every calm moment to be interrupted by another crisis. That confidence becomes its own kind of protection. This invitation unfolds on several levels. Mentally, it asks you to notice the voice that constantly prepares for what could go wrong and gently remind it that not every chapter requires defense. Thoughts that once helped you survive may no longer be guiding you toward the life you're creating now. Let your mind become less like a fortress scanning every horizon and more like still water, capable of reflecting truth without distortion. Emotionally, healing may feel unfamiliar, precisely because it lacks the intensity you've grown accustomed to. There may be moments when peace itself seems unsettling, simply because your nervous system remembers a life organized around constant alertness. If that feeling arises, allow it to pass without giving it authority. You are not losing your instincts. You are discovering that safety no longer depends on expecting the worst. Physically, your body may begin asking for experiences that restore rather than distract. You may feel drawn toward quiet walks near water, slower mornings, softer lighting, music that settles your thoughts, or spaces that allow you to breathe more deeply. These are not small comforts. They are ways of reminding your entire system that life is becoming something to experience instead of something to defend yourself against. Like a hidden spring slowly filling beneath the earth before it reaches the surface, much of what is changing cannot yet be measured by appearances alone. What seems like stillness often conceals remarkable movement beneath it. This quieter rhythm is preparing you for a different relationship with abundance, one that grows from self-trust rather than fear, from openness rather than control. As you move through this chapter, let yourself receive moments of joy without immediately questioning whether they will last. Let beauty, comfort, and genuine contentment become familiar instead of unfamiliar. Each time you choose presence over fear, you quietly affirm to yourself, "I am safe. I am worthy of what is unfolding. I am ready to welcome this next season with an open heart." Scorpio, once you begin allowing yourself to experience greater peace, another transformation quietly follows. It is not always visible from the outside, yet it reaches into the deepest parts of how you see yourself. Old beliefs shaped by fear, scarcity, and the need to stay constantly guarded begin to loosen their hold. In their place, a quieter confidence starts taking root, one that understands your greatest resource has never been something outside of you, but the strength and wisdom you've cultivated within. This kind of change rarely happens all at once. It unfolds through countless small moments when your mind, your body, and your emotions gradually realize they no longer have to live as though every day is a struggle for survival. The version of you that learned to carry impossible burdens was doing its best to protect you. Now another version is emerging, one that discovers security can exist without constant tension. You may notice subtle changes that seem difficult to explain. Perhaps your body asks for more rest than usual. Your home suddenly feels ready to be simplified, or your daily routines no longer fit the person you're becoming. These experiences are not necessarily signs that something is wrong. They may simply reflect an inner realignment as your nervous system begins adjusting to a life that is no longer driven by urgency. For a long time, your instincts were shaped by the belief that your worth depended on what you could endure or how much you could carry for others. It makes sense if moments of stillness feel unfamiliar, or if resting occasionally brings unexpected guilt. Those reactions belong to an older chapter. They are echoes of habits that once protected you, but no longer define who you are becoming. From a symbolic perspective, Scorpio's journey has always been one of transformation through depth rather than speed. This is a season to reconnect with experiences that help you feel present in your own life. Time near water, quiet evenings beneath the open sky, reflective walks, meaningful conversations, or simply creating spaces that feel peaceful can gently remind your body that healing is not something to earn, it is something to allow. You may also become more selective about what you invite into your world. Environments that once seemed acceptable may suddenly feel draining. Relationships built on constant imbalance may no longer feel sustainable. Even the smallest details, how a room feels, how people speak to you, or whether your surroundings support your peace can begin carrying greater importance. This is not becoming difficult. It is becoming more honest about what nourishes your spirit and what quietly depletes it. As your inner landscape changes, your standards naturally evolve with it. The compromises that once felt necessary begin falling away because they no longer match the person you are becoming. You are discovering that discernment is not about pushing others away. It is about creating enough space for what truly belongs to remain. That quiet shift is one of the clearest signs that your relationship with abundance is changing from the inside out. Little by little, you stop chasing the feeling that your life will finally begin once you achieve one more goal. Instead, you begin embodying the stability you once searched for. Like a deep current slowly reshaping the shoreline, the transformation happens through consistency rather than spectacle. It grows from the center of your being and gradually touches every area of your life. What is unfolding now should not be mistaken for luck. It is closer to the quiet restoration of balance after a long season of emotional investment. The kindness you offered when it was difficult, the integrity you protected when shortcuts seemed easier, and the loyalty you gave even when it wasn't returned, all became part of your story. None of it disappeared simply because it wasn't immediately acknowledged. There may have been times when your energy was poured into people or situations that could not appreciate its value. You may have carried responsibilities that were never truly yours, or given more than you received simply because your heart believed it was the right thing to do. Rather than leaving you empty forever, those experiences refined your discernment. They taught you where your generosity belongs and where your boundaries deserve equal respect. That is why this chapter feels less like revenge and more like restoration. You no longer need to chase recognition or force outcomes that are already moving toward you. Some things correct themselves naturally once you stop believing you must carry the entire weight of the journey alone. As your inner balance returns, the outer world has a way of reflecting it with opportunities, stability, and a deeper sense that what truly belongs to you no longer needs to be fought for. Scorpio, there comes a point when life no longer asks you to prove what was taken from you. Some balances have a way of restoring themselves once you stop carrying the weight of every unanswered question. What belongs with you has its own path of return, arriving not only as new opportunities or greater stability, but also as a peace that no longer depends on outside approval. The chapter of chasing what should have been freely given is gradually giving way to something far more sustainable. You may discover that what you once offered to others begins returning in unexpected forms. The commitment you invested in someone else's dream could inspire the confidence to build one of your own. The emotional security you created for people around you may eventually become the foundation of a life where you finally feel deeply at home within yourself. Even the patience you practiced through uncertain seasons may quietly open doors that once seemed permanently closed. This is one of the quieter lessons associated with Scorpio's path. Deep transformation rarely moves in straight lines, yet it remembers every experience that shaped your character. Just because progress unfolded beneath the surface does not mean nothing was happening. Like an underground river patiently carving through stone, change often becomes visible only after it has already reshaped the landscape within. Perhaps the most remarkable part of your journey is that you arrived here without allowing hardship to define your heart. There were countless opportunities to become guarded beyond recognition, yet some part of you continued choosing honesty, compassion, and integrity. That decision has become its own form of strength. You are not stepping into a more abundant life because you became harder. You are stepping into it because you learned that true resilience never required abandoning your humanity. As greater stability begins finding its way toward you, you may notice that your relationship with it feels different than it once would have. There is less urgency to prove yourself and less temptation to measure your worth through constant achievement. Instead, you begin valuing what endures: peace of mind, meaningful work, genuine trust, and the freedom to make choices without fear directing every step. These are the qualities that allow abundance to become lasting rather than temporary. As your inner landscape continues to change, the outer world may begin reflecting that shift in quiet but meaningful ways. You might notice recurring number patterns such as 818, 1101, or 888, each serving as symbolic reminders to pause and recognize the transformation already taking place within you. You may also find yourself repeatedly drawn toward water, discovering unexpected opportunities at just the right moment, or sensing an unmistakable feeling that certain doors are opening with less resistance than before. Whether or not you view these moments as signs, they can become meaningful invitations to remain present and attentive. These experiences are less about predicting the future than about reminding you to notice the life unfolding around you, When something arrives with surprising ease, resist the impulse to immediately question whether it can last. Sometimes the greatest evidence of growth is your ability to receive without assuming that loss must inevitably follow. That quiet trust becomes part of the transformation itself. Whatever begins entering your life now carries a responsibility as well as a blessing. Abundance is not simply something to accumulate. It becomes something to care for wisely, allowing it to create greater stability not only for you, but also for those whose lives you touch. The deeper your sense of inner security becomes, the more naturally generosity replaces fear, because you are no longer giving from emptiness, but from genuine wholeness. There may still be moments when old doubts return, asking whether this new chapter can truly endure. When they do, remember how many times you have rebuilt after disappointment. Every ending taught you something about beginning again with greater wisdom. Every loss revealed strengths that comfort alone could never have uncovered. Your history is not one of repeated failure, it is one of remarkable renewal. As opportunities continue to appear, allow yourself to welcome them without over-analyzing every detail. Some doors deserve thoughtful consideration, but they do not all require suspicion. Quietly remind yourself, I receive what aligns with my highest good. I honor what comes into my life with gratitude and discernment. In doing so, you create space for abundance to become not just an achievement, but a way of living. Scorpio, perhaps you were never meant to spend your life surviving on emotional leftovers. Perhaps your deeper calling has always been to create a life where peace is shared freely, where trust replaces fear, and where the strength you cultivated through every transformation becomes a source of shelter for both yourself and the people you love. Scorpio, something meaningful began to change the moment you decided that protecting your inner peace mattered more than earning someone else's approval. That quiet decision may not have looked dramatic from the outside, yet it altered the direction of everything that followed. The doors that once seemed firmly closed did not open because you forced them. They began responding to the calm certainty that your value no longer depended on anyone else's permission. This season is asking for something different than relentless effort. Rather than carrying every responsibility alone, you are being invited to notice what naturally begins flowing toward you when fear is no longer leading the way. Opportunities, stability, and even financial growth often arrive most gracefully when your energy shifts from proving yourself to trusting the person you have already become. What if the greatest transformation before you has very little to do with working harder? What if it begins by allowing yourself to receive without immediately questioning whether you deserve it? The sacrifices you made, the nights you doubted yourself, and the hope you quietly protected through uncertain seasons have all become part of the wisdom you carry today. None of it has been forgotten. Take a slow breath and allow your body to soften. Release the tension you've grown so accustomed to holding, as though every tomorrow depended entirely on your shoulders. What genuinely belongs in your life does not require you to remain in a constant state of defense. There is strength in vigilance, but there is also strength in finally believing that some blessings can arrive without struggle. As greater stability becomes part of your reality, let yourself experience it without apology. You do not need to diminish your progress to make others comfortable, nor do you need to explain every good thing that enters your life. Receive moments of peace as naturally as you once accepted responsibility. Allow comfort to become familiar instead of something you instinctively question. This chapter is not about luck appearing out of nowhere. It reflects years of quiet transformation that prepared you to hold more without losing yourself. Every challenge refined your discernment, every disappointment deepened your resilience, and every ending taught you something about beginning again with greater wisdom. Looking back, you may realize that the life you were becoming mattered just as much as the life you hoped to build. Now another question gently emerges. As your life continues expanding, what kind of refuge will you create with everything you've learned? How will your healing influence the people you love? How will your peace become something that quietly ripples outward into the lives of others? Abundance becomes most meaningful when it creates safety, generosity, and lasting purpose beyond ourselves. Perhaps this is why your journey demanded such courage. You were never simply learning how to overcome hardship. You were learning how to become someone who could hold both strength and compassion at the same time. That balance is the true foundation of everything now unfolding. If these words resonate with something deep within you, I'd love for you to leave a comment below and simply say, "I welcome my transformation. I am secure. I trust what is unfolding." Let those words become a quiet promise to yourself as you step into this new chapter. And if it feels right, place a hand over your heart for a moment and breathe slowly. You might quietly say, "Lord, help me welcome what is meant for me with wisdom, gratitude, and an open heart. Guide me to use every blessing with compassion, and let my life become a place of peace for both myself and those I love." Scorpio, nothing about your journey has been wasted. Every hidden current has been carrying you toward this quieter season of renewal. The transformation you've been living through is no longer confined beneath the surface. Little by little, it is becoming the life you are now ready to embrace.